That was just showing in the warm weather. I took a video of it in the cold weather. Runs on LP as it is. That's the original 11 gallon per minute pump, or to the best of my knowledge is 11 gallons per minute, because I really can't find a spec. And then the muffler and the engine mounts I robbed from a inverter generator, as obviously that's not your normal muffler that you would find on a small engine that wasn't an inverter generator. So what I got planned here is, well, I got a number of things planned. I guess the biggest mechanical changes is going to be, according to the world of go-karts, the GX160, the head from this engine, because I had the water pump, or a pressure washer pump, give up on that one, so I've got a spare engine, and I'll take the head from that and it will get installed onto this Harbor Freight short block. That's the 212 Harbor Freight, and without any machining, that is supposed to make it 12 point something, maybe even almost 13-to-1 compression. So with the propane at somewhere around 105, 110 octane, 12, 13-to-1 compression will get a lot more bang for the buck out of the propane, rather than the 8-to-1 or 8.5-to-1 that the original engine is. So guess the other big part of this is, you read that in the sunshine? Yeah. So I'll be going from a 11 gallon per minute pump to a 19.5 gallon per minute pump. And according to their spec sheet, on the low gallon per minute high pressure state, which is the second, you know, they're two-stage pumps, and when they get above a certain PSI, somewhere between 400 to 600 PSI, they kick out one portion of the pump, and it pumps at a reduced gallons per minute, but at the full rated PSI. So in the second stage, this pump is rated at 2.8 gallons per minute, and that's 3,000 PSI. So that's, I think that's under 5 horsepower. And that should, you know, with these small engines, I've seen people dyno them without any modifications, and they get 6 points. Most people get the 6.9 horsepower out of them at a full 3,600 RPMs. So I think I'm going to have enough horsepower. I mean, I know the manufacturers all seem to, when they get close anywhere, 16 gallons per minute and whatnot and higher, they up the size of the engine. But I want to find out if that's really the case, whether you really need to upsize the engine to go into a hydraulic pump that's has these specifications. So The other change here is I'm going to add in parallel a second filter. I mean, the filter that's on it is rated at 25 gallons per minute, but I want to do what I can to reduce back pressure, so I'm going to add another one. Before I get too carried away, I'm going to and make modifications. I'm going to patch this pressure gauge in somewhere on the well, it would be on the pressure side, so it would be probably easiest to put in a T-fitting here and just be able to read the gauge and figure out what this thing is pressure wise before, because I don't know whether this thing is 3,000, 3,500, 3,750, 4,000 psi. It's, it was made in the 1980s, so I don't think it's 4,000. I think it's 3,500 at the most. So whatever, 3,500 psi or 3,000 psi with a 4-inch bore, that's how they get their 20 tons of pushing rating. And I'm going to combat the heat with that's the other reason for going to 2 filters, is to reduce the heat. And then I am going to switch to a full synthetic automatic transmission fluid instead of hydraulic fluid, to try and reduce the heat as much as I can, because I know increasing the size of the pump 50%, and I'm borderline getting too hot with the smaller pump. I got to do something to make the fluid stay cooler at the minimum. And if I can't do it with just the fluid, I'll go a step farther. I don't know anybody that's done this, but I'm going to give it a go if I have to. And I'll basically rig this thing up so I'll have to have an auxiliary pump of some kind, and I'll probably rig it up so that it's pulling the fluid out of the reservoir and then runs through this liquid heat exchanger, and then dumps it back into the return back into tank. And then the other side of this heat exchanger, I'll basically run water through it. And the theory is the water will remove BTUs from the hydraulic oil, because this thing does not have that very much of a hydraulic tank. I mean, well, I've seen people on the internet that have talked about changing the fluid, and it doesn't even hold 4 gallons. So it doesn't. Well, maybe if you count what's in the cylinder, maybe it's 4 gallons. So that's the other reason for adding another filter. That gives me a little bit more fluid capacity. Not a tremendous amount, but I know I'll have plenty of oil in that 5-gallon bucket to make up the difference of the fluid to be held in an extra filter. So I'm basically to the point of Do I tear it apart now? Because I really don't want to be putting the brand new filters on it and run it with the existing hydraulic oil and then switch it to automatic transmission fluid. Would prefer to drain the thing and then change all the filters over and change the pump and then have it live the rest of its life on automatic transmission fluid, rather than, so that way I've never ran the hydraulic oil through the newer filters. So I'm hoping I don't have to do the heat exchanger thing, because that's just a kind of a plan B if I can't keep the heat down enough with the synthetic ATF fluid. So it'll be what it'll be. So yeah, basically the head from the GX160 will go on the Harbor Freight 212 short block, and add the second filter, change over to the pump that's basically 50% bigger. Its spec sheet said 2.8 gallons per minute at 3000 psi, and you divide with that 1714 number, and that's well under 6.5 horsepower to generate 2.8 gallons per minute at 3000 psi. So I think this engine will be capable of doing it. I wouldn't expect the manufacturer to sell it that way. They would probably upsize to at least a GX270, just because that's what they do. They don't want to deal with warranty returns, but I ain't got no warranty on this, so I'm gonna give it a go and see whether the manufacturers are right or not. I mean, they may be doing it for a very good reason, and I'm gonna find out that I do have to upsize my engine to run a pump that's above 16 gallons per minute. So right or wrong, I'm gonna figure it out. So I don't know what else to talk about, other than I get basically as it is with no modifications. The 30-pound propane tank, 20 something hours. I get 20 some odd hours out of the 30-pound propane tank, and that's the quote unquote 7-gallon propane tank, and I run it at full 3600 RPMs, unless I'm warming it up or something. It's running at a full 3600 RPMs. That's the other thing, is I don't get enough speed out of this. I've looked into the go-karts enough. I don't have any warranties, so I can do what I want. I can overspeed the engine. They're talking about, you know, engine failures happening up, you know, 5500, 6000 RPMs is when you need to really start worrying about the OEM flywheel starting to crack and tear itself apart. So if you just monkey with the governor and not really get carried, I want to, you know, unlike a go-kart, I want to keep the governor, so I would just be basically adjusting the governor to its maximum position, which I think the highest you can go without really removing the governor is about 4400 RPM or less. So I think these things are well capable of running low 4000 RPMs. I mean, sure, it's going to take a little bit of life out of it, but they don't exactly cost a fortune either. So other than the fact that if I had to get another GX160 head, You know, that would be a fairly, would be a lot more money to get another GX 160 head over the entire Harbor Freight Power long block. So anyway, that's my little plan to take over the world with. Whether it works or not, I'm just gonna find out. So thanks for watching. Bye.